Hey everyone. Wanted to quickly chat about an interesting discussion that I had with one of our clients yesterday, and I figured that this might be something that many could benefit from. It was actually about some challenges that the client was having, and more specifically about how some of their investments are to be allocated. And when I mean by investments, it's really around where do you allocate your budgets to get the most bang for your buck. In this particular customer's case, they're dealing with a number of challenges, and when it comes to dealing with challenges, something that I like to identify is that there are certain upstream challenges and downstream challenges that you reach with. So if you look at a process, and or if you actually list out all the issues that you may be experiencing, some of these issues might be part of a particular process in your business, or part of your value chain. And something that you need to understand is that each of these problems, where do they sit within that process or within multiple other processes, and how they feed into it. Now, there might be cases when it comes to a process, there's step one, two, three, four, five, six, so on and so forth. And if there's a problem with step one, problem with step seven, you could say step one is an upstream problem and step seven is a downstream problem. And in a whole ecosystem, you might have multiple processes, and one process might get executed before the other. And then if there's a problem in process one and process two, process one would be an upstream versus process two would be downstream. And in their case, they were really trying to solve a particular problem. And then what we discovered was that, sure, they can allocate the funding to solving this particular problem that they were having. However, there was another problem upstream in that process that they hadn't necessarily prioritized. And what we discovered was that, sure, they might be able to solve one problem. However, if the upstream problem was not solved, the funding allocation for the downstream problem resolution would go to waste, because you would invest, and what you'll find is that if the problem in the upstream step, in other words in step one, is not solved and your operations come to a halt, now the investment to step seven is actually becomes quite irrelevant, because you're still stuck. So the moral of the story is that when you're trying to solve problems, identify what's upstream and what's downstream, and try to understand the sequence of events and which problem you need to prioritize solving, and always start from the upstream problems, because downstream problems you can solve it, but an upstream problem, if it actually does happen and if you haven't solved it, that effort becomes kind of a waste. Now, this is not a general rule either. You really have to make a judgment call and assess the severity of the problem, what is the impact, and so on and so forth. So, and also the likelihood. If the likelihood of the upstream problem actually happening is very, very low, then you can prioritize on a downstream challenge. But you do definitely need to look at the big picture and address problems from a holistic level. Hope that helped. If it did, would really appreciate a comment or a like. Thanks. Have a good one.